Hey everyone, I'm Judd Myers and this is another episode of The Landing Pad, coming to you from our store in North Hollywood, California, and streaming on blastoffcomics.com. So it's Cosmic Hero Month, and we're talking about the stars. It would be remiss of me not to talk about Captain Mar-Vell. Now this is a really important episode for me because I want to talk about a book that really affected me when I was a kid. Little Judd rode his Huffy to his comic book store when he was a kid in 1982. And I walked into the comic book store and I saw something on display. And on the cover was something called a graphic novel. I had never heard that term before, and it was actually presented to me on the cover of a book. And it wasn't enough that it was just a graphic novel, it was also titled The Death of Captain Mar-Vell. Now that really affected me. I had read about death in comics before in the 70s, Gwen Stacy and Green Goblin, there was death. But the death of Captain Mar-Vell, that's just crazy talk. So I picked up this book and it was a lot of money. It was $6. And that was like more than my allowance. But I really, really wanted it bad. Just the cover alone was arresting. Just death holding Captain Mar-Vell, one of the most powerful heroes in Marvel history, and all of these Marvel characters surrounding him. So okay, I got this book and I rode home and I sat in my room and I read from cover to cover. Damn you, Jim Starlin. I mean, your namesake, Starlin, is certainly what you do in comics, and you're really, really good at it. But back then, a little boy reading this in the privacy of his own room, it just shook me to my very foundations. So the story is that Captain Mar-Vell discovers that he has cancer. Yeah, it's not the death of like we have in the comics. A villain shoots you and you die, or you know, you explode in a fiery explosion and then you're killed, or you know, you have sent back in time and so you're dead. There's a lot of death in comics now, but back then the idea that what actually finally took one of our most powerful heroes was cancer, something that there was no way for us to figure out. So he discovers he has cancer because he fought this character named Nitro, and Nitro could explode and he had nuclear powers and he exploded, and he had stolen this canister of this terrible gas, and it had broken open near a town and it was coming out of this canister, and the only way to stop it from killing all these people in the town was for Captain Mar-Vell to take his bare hands and put it over this canister and crush it closed. So years pass by, and it turns out that this gas has affected his system and it's given him a disease. All of the characters in the Marvel Universe descend upon Captain Mar-Vell and his ship and on his planet, Titan. And he's there with his family and his friends. And they all decide, the greatest minds in the Marvel Universe, that they're going to cure him. They're going to find a cure for cancer. The greatest minds, Mr. Fantastic and Hank Pym and even T'Challa, Black Panther, they all get together and they get in the lab and they do everything they can, and no matter what, they can't find a cure. No matter what they do, there's no cure for cancer. And Captain Mar-Vell is resigned to it. Now, Captain Mar-Vell is an amazing character. He's from the Kree Empire, and he comes from this warlike world. He's sent to Earth to scout. He's sent to decide, you know, where they should attack, to study the humans and map their world so that the Kree could come and enslave everybody and take all the natural resources. Except just like Silver Surfer, he decides that humankind is worth more than that. And he tries to convince his superiors that they shouldn't invade and they shouldn't enslave the planet. And of course what happens is they defy his ideas and he fights them and finds a way to repel their attack, his armada, and is stranded on Earth. The interesting thing about Captain Mar-Vell is that the most powerful character in the Marvel Universe has cosmic awareness, kind of like a cosmic spidey sense, and negabands. When he crashes them together, he and Rick Jones, his teenage sidekick, switch places in the negative zone, and then when they clack them, they switch places again. They share a consciousness. Crazy ideas. The most powerful character in the Marvel Universe is a pacifist. He doesn't want to fight. All he wants to do is find a peaceful solution. Of course, you never do find a peaceful solution, but he tries. That's the whole point, he tries. His arch nemesis, Thanos, is the opposite. All he wants to do is fight. All he wants to do is kill. And Captain Marvel, well, he's the opposite. He just wants to find a way to convince Thanos otherwise. How crazy is that? So here we are in the death of Captain Marvel. Nothing's working, and he's slowly dying throughout this entire issue. He's fading away into nothingness. And all of his friends are there. They come from Earth, coming and coming and coming. And word gets out all over the galaxy that Captain Marvel is dying. Everyone comes to pay their respects, including the Skrull Empire. They send an emissary to come and give him their greatest honor, their greatest medal. Why? Because he was their greatest enemy, and they respect him. To them, he's something special, and they come to honor him as he dies. I couldn't believe what I was reading. It was crushing me, and all of these heroes were coming to his bedside. Even Spider-Man comes, and he's so overwhelmed that he has to leave the room. And Rick Jones gets upset and says, "What's the matter with you?" And Hank McCoy says, "It's okay. Everyone deals with death in their own way." And Spider-Man doesn't understand why it is that they haven't tried to solve this problem sooner. Eventually, Captain Marvel succumbs. And the most amazing part of it is, he's ushered to his death by Thanos, his greatest enemy. Thanos helps him to the other side. They walk together into the darkness. He kisses death and accepts his fate. And he and his greatest enemy walk toward the edge of the panel into the white. And I turned the page, and then it was nothing. In the back of the page, the back of the graphic novel, was a headstone. I cried. I went back and read it again, thinking that I'd missed something. Maybe this was just like a joke. It led to another story, or nope. It really was about the death of a character. This book, this extraordinary book, this powerful book, really affected me in a lot of ways. There I was, little Judd, reading about all these superheroes that to me could do absolutely anything, and disappearing into these stories and wishing I was in there with them, because inside of these stories I could do anything. And if I was one of them, I can cure cancer. I could have saved my grandparents. I could have saved my sister who passed away. I could have done all of these things only to find out that that's not true. And I didn't know what to do about those feelings. I thought maybe it would ruin my joy of comic books, because I found out that these heroes who I thought could do anything were just really humans, just like me. What I discovered was that I felt closer to them than I ever had before. It was almost as if their own vulnerability made it so that they were just like me. It wasn't that I was just like them, it was the opposite. And for years I felt like we'd been through something together. I guess even now when I read comics, I think about all of the intimacies that we've been through in my imagination. But that book in particular really made me feel like we had been through a tragedy together. We had gone through it and found ourselves better for it, closer for it, more intimate for it, just like family is. If you get a chance, come on by our store, have a look at The Death of Captain Marvel. Go to your local if you're nowhere near us. We'll be talking about cosmic heroes all month, and certainly we'll be touching on Captain Marvel. And always remember, when you read comics, get a little intimate. Really think about who you are and why these characters do what they do. And most importantly, remember that sometimes it's not about outer space. Sometimes it's not about invulnerability. Sometimes it's not about just other universes. Sometimes it's about how we feel. Sometimes it's about how we feel things together. And that's something that we try to do here on the landing pad. We feel things together. We talk about things together. We share things together. And really, isn't that what comics are all about? Thanks for joining us again. I'm Judd Myers from BlastoffComics.com. And until next time, go out into the universe and do well. But more important, go out into the universe and do good.